CHistrue, and this is a philosophical meditation on manhood, what it means, how it's declined, and how we as men can restore it. There may be some contentious ideas explored here. I hope that people will listen to them, and I hope that it will spark healthy discussion, healthy debate, and a healthy dialogue, and not that it will shed light as opposed to heat. A very clear disclaimer. When I talk about the decline of manhood, I am not positing a traditionalist narrative that somehow women need to go fulfill some kind of role. I'm not saying that at all. And the reason that I'm not saying that is I do not have the right to define a woman for herself. That is not something that I have the right to do. A woman must define that within her own soul, what it means to be a woman. And in that respect, I very much stand with women's equality and women's rights. Because without those, a woman cannot define who she is in herself. However, it is also the case that we as men must define who we are as men and not let it be defined by society, by the media, by Hollywood, by some of the narratives that either by traditionalism on the one hand or some of the maybe unhelpful narratives that have come out of certain schools of feminism. And I don't mean to paint them with a broad brush, but particularly Mary Daly is one name that comes to mind who her perspective does not seem to have been very helpful. We'll put it that way. And speaking of Mary Daly, I also want to address the issue of gay, lesbian, transgender, and perspectives that would, again, not be my own. I have not lived those perspectives, so I do not have the right to define their role in life for them, or what they should feel, or how they should or shouldn't accept their sense of gender identity. That's not a right that I have. I can speak to the experience of heterosexual males having lived it. What is it, in my opinion, that is a man? A man begins with maleness, and the experience of maleness, but does not end with maleness. Maleness is a biological adaptation. Maleness begins with the reproductive strategy, the competition for mates. Within social animals like primates, the being part of a male hierarchy. Among human beings, we have a collected set of cultural expectations of malehood. One of those is military service, and the expectation that you will go out there into the workforce and you will work. And this is a legacy that we have carried with us. The legacy of evolutionary heritage. The legacy of cultural heritage. That is a male who has often borne the brunt of that in many respects. And yet, a man is a male at a crossroads. Because a male can look at the world and accept it as it is and say, I need to be a part of this in order to survive. I need to make my compromises. I need to cut my deal here. Now, there are different ways of doing that. There's the traditional maleness narrative that talks about bringing back the glory days of hierarchies in church and state and going back to traditional roles. There's the newer kind of maleness that's more of an adaptation to a kind of less masculine world. I don't favor either one of these. And the reason why is because I favor the other road. The other road of what maleness means. And that is of what manhood means. If you are a man, you are an overcomer. That is what I define a man as being. A true man is a philosopher. Now, again, back to my disclaimer. Because I am saying a man is an overcomer and a philosopher does not mean that by definition I define a woman as something other than that. There's the key problem that I have with the traditional concept of gender. And that is just because I define myself as being these things doesn't automatically mean that a woman needs to be in a kitchen or in a barefoot pregnant and teaching kindergarten and cooking all at the same time, which, by the way, is quite an accomplishment. I have to say, if you're able to do that, hats off to you. But that's not my position or my point. I'm saying this is what a man needs to be. Okay, so as long as we're making this clear. I support women's equality. I believe it is an ongoing struggle. I would never want anybody to tell me to go to the kitchen or to have some kind of role, and I don't expect that I would do that with other people. And so I want to make that very, very clear. But I also believe that as men, we do need to be powerful within ourselves. And what that means is not power over other people and domination. It's power within yourself to be that overcomer. And that includes, by the way, to overcome the heritage that comes down to us that says that we must accept the injustices of the world as they are, because that's the way it is, because that's human nature, because that's the way it always has been. A man as an overcomer must be to take the world and to shape it. You take your evolutionary heritage and you shape it. You stand for what is right, even if the world stands against you. Even if everybody stands against you, you stand for what's right. And what's right includes your rights, but it's not just your rights. Part of the decline of manhood has come in from when both liberal and conservative narratives have focused a lot on rights. And that is important. A man should stand up for his rights, and a woman for hers, of course. But a man also needs to, again, speaking to men, a man also needs to stand up for the right thing. That includes responsibilities. I had kind of a list of things here. Some staple things a man should know. I'm kind of traditional, I've got to be honest. I think a man should work hard enough that his wife has the option to be out of the workforce, certainly during the formative years of child rearing. That does not mean she's obligated to do that, however, but that should be an option. A man should have some basic knowledge about science, astronomy, history, mathematics. And here's where I've been deficient. Tool use. I'm taking steps right now to learn electronics. So I'm tackling that one. The decline of manhood and male status has come. I know a lot of conservatives will blame feminism, but I would say, and that's a complicated subject. There have been some unhelpful narratives that have come from some schools within feminism. However, the real decline of traditionally male roles has come from changes within capitalism, automation, outsourcing. But then there's a deeper thing going on here, and that is the decline of a faith in what is a man's purpose. That faith can be expressed in a number of forms. With traditional religion, there's a sense that, again, one is part of something greater. Now, among those who are agnostics or humanists, then there's the idea of Carl Sagan, his narrative that we are star stuff, but we are star stuff with an obligation to transform our star stuff into consciousness, into something greater. I can go with either one. I can go with either one, provided that the end of both of those, and I'm a cognitive pluralist, so I can support either idea, as long as the end of it is a man who holds himself erect with his eyes to the stars, staring ever upwards to higher ideals. And so, to really restore what it means to be a mensch, and to use a Yiddish term, is that one must get the power within oneself to overcome oneself. It's not just about doing what one wants. It's not about being a boy with a toy, or a car, or a new electronics, or one's hobbies or interests. No, these are okay. These are good even. But to be a true man, one must be a full adult.